guys, welcome to this week's show. This week we're talking to Marlissa Briggett of South Coast Almanac. There are two things that I think you're really going to enjoy in this interview. Number one, she talks about how she started selling her product before she had anything to even show her customers. And number two, she talks about how as a small business owner, you're responsible for everything, and there's things that you just don't know how to do. So she gives you some examples of the things that she struggled with and how she found people to help her get those things done. So now we're going to jump into the interview, and if you're interested in being on our show, please stay tuned to the end and we'll tell you how. Today we're here with Marlissa Briggett of South Coast Almanac magazine, which we have actually. This is
our huge cover that just is coming out this week.
Oh, that's pretty exciting.
Sneak peek at it.
So tell us a little bit about what you do. And we have actually here samples of previous editions. These are beautiful. Anyway, go ahead. Tell us about it.
We began as an annual regional lifestyle magazine, and we're on the south coast of Massachusetts. We cover the area between the Buzzards Bay and Little Compton, Rhode Island. Essentially all of Buzzards Bay that isn't over the bridge at Cape Cod. So, and we started as an annual. Essentially, we didn't have the bandwidth to do more than that. We can talk about it later, but we are going to expand and grow beyond that. But we also I had been a writer for many years on the side. It was my hobby. I loved writing stories about people who were passionate about what they did or places. And there was never a place for me to pitch stories about the South Coast. And so probably 5 years ago, I called an old editor from Cape Cod magazine who was no longer there, and I said, we should start a magazine. And he's kind of said, well, here are all the reasons we shouldn't.
What were the reasons that you shouldn't?
He said, well, literally, I called him on the phone. I had just gone to interview someone in Chatham, and I was driving home. And I said, we really should start a magazine. And he said, that's a terrible idea. People don't read anymore. The print industry is dying. Magazines are going out of business. But I'm kind of interested.
So you didn't listen.
Yeah, I didn't listen. So, and neither did he. I mean, he brought up all these reasons not to do it, but he was interested. And I think that if you love magazines, you just love to, you want them to succeed.
Well, you think about it too. Cape Cod to me, big image is sitting at the beach as this woman is going, and I bet there's a magazine in her bag.
For sure.
To me, that's where you read magazines.
Yep. So that was the idea. So we sort of like talked about, well, what where would it be? Because he had obviously a lot of experience with regional magazines. I had written for them. Neither of us had any the business side of it, but my thought was, what if you had all the creative people who really cared about the magazine kind of in charge? What would happen then? And I thought you'd create a beautiful magazine, and then that would be something that readers and advertisers would value. So that was sort of the experiment. Like if you put a lot of effort into the content, then you'll have success.
So in effect, you're testing your idea.
Yes.
So you had the idea, you had all the reasons why you shouldn't do it.
Yes.
And you said, we still want to try it.
Yep.
So you had a test, and it sounds like it has worked.
It has worked. So first of all, we were lucky that we found this. I was connected to Onset my whole life, and this was my favorite corner of the world, basically.
And Onset is a village
in Wareham, which is part of the South Coast.
Okay.
And this South Coast area just didn't have a regional lifestyle magazine that was on newsstands yet. So we basically were coming in to a place that had nothing like what we were proposing. So that was a big plus,
It was a market.
There was a market. So advertisers really were thrilled with our first product. Readers were really thrilled too. We got tons of positive feedback. And the only real negative feedback, and it's not negative, but people said, you really should do it more than once a year. And we kind of agreed, but it was a new business. It was a startup, and we had to be realistic. Also, there are awful statistics about the number of magazines that fail in their first year. I can't remember what it is because I probably blocked it out, but I want to say it's like 70%.
It wasn't stopping you.
And so then once we got past the first year, we're like, oh, we did it, we're good. But as we go on, it sort of becomes apparent that there are some great reasons to go to quarterly, not just because our audience would like it, but just in terms of economies of scale, like looking at it from a business standpoint. There are certain costs that we carry, whether we have one issue or 4 issues, and so we kind of want to, make that work to our benefit.
So you are now, have moved to quarterly?
So we are this year doing 2, because we're cautious.
Yeah, you're testing.
And we're testing, right. So this year we will have our summer one, which comes out in a week, and then a holiday issue that will come out in the fall. And then next year we start to go on a quarterly schedule.
That's exciting.
Yeah, so it's very exciting.
That's very exciting.
Yeah.
All right, so I feel like I should ask my next question, but I'm almost afraid to ask after everything you just shared. So tell us about a challenge that you had and how you overcame it.
Well, that's always a great... there's so many challenges. Every day is a bit of a challenge. I would say the first challenge and the biggest challenge that I can think of, and it's a little bit far back in time, so it may not be as relevant right now, but that first year of having the idea and thinking we can make this work, the biggest challenge is we had to go in and sell this idea, and we didn't have a product. We were basically trying to get people to understand what our vision was without being able to show them. The second and third year that we've gone out, it's so much easier. We pick up the magazine and we say, this is what we're about. We are local stories, really beautiful photography by local photographers, a high attention to the content and the readability of it. We want this to be something. This is what we talked a lot about. The first year we would say we're creating a coffee table publication, essentially something that will be on somebody's coffee table and will stay there. And we wanted it to be evergreen. We wanted people not to throw it out ever. We wanted it to never see the recycling bin because people wanted to keep it. So that's what we had in our mind, but people couldn't. First of all, they couldn't get their heads around an annual publication, and also they just had no idea. Like they didn't know us. I guess anybody can knock on doors and say we're going to create this, and we think you should be in it.
And reality is that you're fighting for advertising dollars that they're probably already spending someplace else.
Right.
And so now you're trying to lure them into giving it a shot with you.
With an idea, not even a product yet. And that was the biggest challenge, I would say.
How'd you overcome that?
I think that we were really passionate about the idea. We really felt like this area kind of deserved this kind of magazine, and that it would kind of lift everybody up, because if we're showing folks local businesses, local restaurants that they can go to, they're going to go out and patronize them, and a rising tide lifts all boats sort of thing, so the more we shine a light on the great things that are here, the better everybody does, I think. And so we were really passionate about that mission of shining a light on the South Coast, which I think it sort of gets not a whole lot of attention, everybody thinks of Cape Cod. If they're going to go south of Boston, they go to Cape Cod, so no one's really thinking about us.
Yeah, you have, if you look through the magazine, you have a ton of beautiful places, great resources, great shops, great restaurants. So
yeah, and that was a big part of it. Was I'm obviously a magazine person, and so I read magazines, and so I would, if people came to visit, in onset, as we're right on the cusp. We're at one end of the South Coast. We're 20 minutes away from Cape Cod. So I would get Cape Cod magazine and read it, and I knew all the new restaurants and all the cool places to go there. But I didn't know where to go if I wanted to go west, if I wanted to go 2 towns over. So I didn't even know until I started to do this magazine that there were really cool restaurants just 2 towns away. And so we kind of want to be the vehicle that gets people to explore their own backyard.
That's great. So, last question.
Yeah.
Give us a hint for we're making this easy. So, give us a tip for other small businesses.
So, first of all, persistence, right? I have actually a bunch of hints. One is that I just watched your video with Joe and Linda Dupuy, and I loved, Linda said, you get up at 9 o'clock in the morning and you do your job, right? And I think that sort of just getting up every morning, these goals are sometimes kind of far in the future, but you still have to get up every day and chip away at them, and so it's that persistence. And I would also say you have to be incredibly humble, because there's so much you don't know. Like, I don't know so much. I'm terrible at numbers, budgeting. I'm terrible at some technology,
So how did you get past those?
So and I think as a small business owner, you have to realize, okay, I can't do this, but then you have to get people on your team who are really good at it, and I think the great thing about today's economy is that there are all these great people out there who are on their own, freelancers or whatever, like that you can get great talent that you don't have to bring on a whole full-time employee, but you can get their expertise, and that's been incredibly valuable to me. For instance, I don't know anything about newsstand distribution, but I have a guy who's great at that, and I think the challenge is finding that great person, because there's a lot of people out there, right? So so that becomes the challenge. The challenge is not that you don't know stuff, so that should never be an obstacle, because you can always find someone who knows stuff, but you got to find the right person.
Do you have any full-time employees at this point?
No, everybody gets a 1099.
So you're 3 years in, and you have built this magazine to now it's going to be 40 times a year with part-time folks. So that's a big lesson.
Yeah, and that makes things a lot easier in terms of I don't have to deal with, benefits or issues like that, and you also find people who like that approach too, because people want to be independent. I love not having a boss, right? And deciding whether, okay, I have something that I have to get done today, but I can have a conversation with you in the middle of the day. I could go out to lunch, and I could finish it at 9 o'clock tonight. I have a blog post that I have to do, and I like being in charge of my own schedule, and other people do too. So I think that's the great. I don't know if you would have been able to do that 30 years ago. I think there are far more freelancers in the economy now.
So you're doing this at a good time.
Yes. Yeah. The other hint I would say is I also listen to a lot of podcasts. So
Me too. A lot of driving, a lot of podcasts.
Yeah. Sometimes I feel like maybe this is my business school.
So who do you listen to?
I listen to Seth Godin a lot.
Yep.
And
he's great.
He had a series called Startup, but that was only 7 episodes, but it was good. And now he has a new one called Akimbo. There's some others one is just called Startup. I listen to that sometimes. But in general, I just try to listen to stuff, and I'm constantly amazed at the way people like Seth Godin look at things and look at businesses, and so and turn things on their head, to get an idea and.
Well, I think that comes back around to what you said, which is a tip that I think is super valuable is you can't feel like you have to know everything. And I think the word humble is a great word. And it's an interesting word to go with small business owners who are usually very passionate, very driven, to be humble and to be able to say, I don't know everything, but I'm going to go find the answers, or I'm going to find people that can give me the answers.
Right.
I think that's a great tip. So.
Yeah, and people just constantly amaze me at their depth of knowledge. So the elephant in the room is you're a big help to me. You help with the sort of the strategy and the economic forecasting, and I couldn't do that. And then you say things, and I spend a lot of time in the car thinking about what you said.
So I'm like the silent podcast.
No, you're the live podcast that I have. But you just have to listen and constantly be ready to to sort of implement good ideas.
That's great advice. So how can people find you? Oh, new edition. Let's just make sure we show this one time.
So,
new edition coming up.
Yeah, we have a website. We keep so you can see us all year round on the website at southcoastalmanac.com, and also we're on Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and yeah, you can also find us on newsstands. Because we would really love you to find us there.
You can actually subscribe, correct?
You can subscribe. So if you went to our website, southcoastalmanac.com, there's a click there, and you can buy a single issue, because the last two have been single issues, annual issues, but then we have a new slot for a subscription for a year, and you get a really good deal on that, and it comes delivered to your door. And so that's, we really hope to build up the subscriber base. So that would be huge if you wanted to take a look at it.
Great. So I will put that contact information down below so you can all find it. So thank you, Marlissa, for sharing. If you liked this video, please hit the like button. Please share it with your friends. And if you're interested in content like this, we'd love to have you subscribe to our channel. And you'll hear about our new video that comes out every week. Thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you liked this show. If you missed last week's show where we talked to Kendallin Gavinoff-Gagny, there's a link down below so you can catch that episode. And I hope you join us next week when we talk to Bill Bashant of the Gun Orphanage. Have a great week.